Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public participation on any non-agenda items. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business and just a further discussion with the junior high flag football requests. Mr. Federman, as we had.
Yeah, whoever that can talk. For those that don't know me, my name is Mike Tatum, and I was asked to come speak at the board meeting tonight with the idea of maybe transitioning the junior high football team into a flag football program. First, I'll just give you a little of my experience, a little background. I've been coaching football here for 23 years out of the 24 years that I've been here. 4 years in the high school, 19 years in the junior high level. I've coached all kinds. You know, we play Knoxon, we'll play 6-man football. I've done a lot of 11-man football, now we're at 8-man football. The COVID year, when this year's seniors were 8th graders, we went to flag for the season. So I have coached a year, and it was just players among players, local. So then beyond that, the last 2 summers, I've taken kids to Superior for some 5-on-5 passing league games, which is very similar. It's just very little running, but and it's 2-hand touch. 2 years ago, I took some of our kids to the University of Montana, and we played in a 7-on-7 league. We played against Frenchtown, we played against Loyola, we played against Glacier High School. There was somebody else in there too. With all of those, there was a high level of competitiveness. And I guess my point that I'm getting to with that is, I think some people don't think there is. You think of flag, you maybe think it's a lesser game. When we played against Glacier, it was serious football. Cody West, as a freshman, caught a touchdown against Glacier High School. My son Greg, as a freshman, threw a touchdown against Frenchtown High School. They didn't want that to happen, I guarantee it. The other teams, now if we'd have been playing them in tackle football, not a chance to be competitive. But when you go that route, it gets pretty even. You know, whatever levels you have, there is a greater chance of opportunity to be successful. You know, I also talking to people, you know, you're wondering about the skills because you're not tackling. And so then to segue into this a little more, I talked to Superior's superintendent this last Saturday in Frenchtown at the track meet, and I've talked to their other coaches a little bit too. And the reason I approached them is because they've had flag football in their junior high program for I don't know how many years now, and they are very successful at the high school level. They made the playoffs 2 years ago. This last year they were 5-3. If our league had been expanded to a couple more teams, they would have made the playoffs again. But they are very well coached and very competitive on the football field. And so when I asked their superintendent, Mr. Labby, you know, a few things, and I asked him to be here tonight, but I didn't get a response back from him. But if he has the chance, he'll come and talk to whomever. He said they teach their kids everything, even tackling in junior high, the proper form and everything. They just don't tackle in junior high. But you're still able to run your plays. You're able to work on technique. I think without maybe that little bit of fear in the back of your mind if you're one of those kids. It's there. Football hurts sometimes. And then one of the reasons he said, or one of the concerns they had, and they really drive this point home, when those 8th graders transition into freshmen, they really drive the point home that the upperclassmen do not pick on them. so to speak. And to be honest, I used to see that out here. And I know we've lost players because of that. And so when I got on last year as the head football coach, I drove that point home.
We get to go home.
No, I'll keep talking. Like filibuster. I'm not going 24 hours. And you know, and it might have been a different transition at first, because last year was maybe a little special because I had my oldest son and my youngest son, and I'm sure the oldest one wanted to tee up on the younger one. You know, siblings. But we wouldn't allow it to happen, you know, and it's football. Guys are gonna get hit. I mean, that's the reality of it at certain times. But I think we did a pretty good job 2 years ago, and then we continued that this year to really emphasize that. You know, I had Zayden Allen and Tristan Allen. I guarantee Zayden wanted to get his little brother sometimes, but we just didn't allow it. And the younger guys made it through the season. They learned some great skill sets, and I think they built some confidence. So with that, if we go into it, I think it could be successful. But for whatever reason, you know, there's just those misconceptions of football in general. Maybe flag football not being as tough or whatever. And when we did it in 2020, I did lose a couple kids. Decided to play soccer instead of flag football. So you might have that. I mean, you just might have that. But if there's a way to really get these kids interested, if you could start something in the summer, you know, once a week, maybe like what we've done in Superior, just to build that interest, you know, and then your coaches, Mr. Bev and stuff, Coach Turner, you know, if they could get on and do it too, then they're going to also develop confidence and just a different way of approaching the flag football game than the normal game. And then I will help with whatever, with those guys, with whatever. You know, I like football. You know, and I'd like to see it be successful. So, a lot of information to throw at you, but if you have any questions, ask away. Anybody has any questions? Yes.
Are there any other towns in the area that have moved their junior high program to flag?
So Superior that I talked about, and that was something that Logan Labby brought up as well, is one, he's excited. He would be excited if we did, because it feels like we would be a consistent team.
Mm-hmm.
He's played Superior at times, he's played Clinton at times, maybe Bonner, but there is some inconsistency there with like other league teams. So, and that's where I was, you know, hoping he'd be here, you know, to speak more on that.
Yeah.
But
Mike, have you presented this idea? I know Mike knows this. We used to have a little meeting amongst the, you know, the ADs or whatever, of your typical league play, you know. Have you presented this idea at that meeting at all, or?
no.
Or has anybody taken that back and talked to those guys, or?
This is pretty new, you know, new to me. I think even new to the district. I'm trying to see where this can go.
You know, my concern would be is that, you know, if it's just Superior and it sounds like they're having a hard time, but, you know, I'm not opposed to the idea, but, you know, I'm wondering if maybe, you know, the transitional step would be to, you know, present this idea to that group of schools that typically are having the regular football at the 7th and 8th grade levels.
Sure.
And just to see what their feel is. You know, you might have, you know, there might be 2 or 3 other schools that would say, yeah, you know,
Sure.
we're kind of in that shape too, or whatever. So, you know, if you did that, then you would actually have almost a development of a kind of a league kind of thing. You know, I think just to jump into it right now, I'm not sure how much, you know, I don't know if Mr. Kajila, or what's his name, the AD could really, get you guys a lot of games. I think you'd probably end up probably just playing amongst yourselves
Yeah.
a lot that first year.
And that's where, so if you could get Superintendent Labby to come here, once again, Superior is very successful with football. And they've been doing it, even doing it with some inconsistencies, on who they play. So they're doing something right. And if it, gets us 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 more kids to come out, I think, that's part of the goal right now. And it was even brought up a few minutes ago, I don't know, when you looked at the junior high and asked, were any of the girls asked if they want to play? It's a guarantee, because, right now, the state of Montana, I don't know how many girls teams there are, at the high school level, but they've grown 2 or 3 over the last couple of years, and so that's taken on some steam, and I mean, because technically they can play high school football. I've had girls play junior high football. And the ones that I've talked to in Mission that have played flag football, the high school girls, they loved it. They ate it up. They're concerned they won't be able to do it again this next year just because of numbers, because it's during their volleyball season as well. But you might get a couple there, and then it's again, or when we go have homecoming, we have our little powder puff games. Those girls get into it. So once again, it kind of levels things out for everybody there. So, and still get your participation, maybe.
Mike, can you go over the schools in the area that have flag football?
Well, like I said, this is just a brief conversation with Logan Saturday. Superior, sometimes St. Regis, Clinton, Sealy. He did mention Sealy. And so there's that.
Did he say what caused the inconsistencies in the games? Is it just because sometimes they can't put a team together?
Well, no, we didn't get that far. I guess my assumption would be just people are playing traditional football at junior level more right now than not. So.
It
So
seemed
we've
like on
got-
that list there was 5, like there was about 5 of them or so.
Delegate, Lone Rock, Potomac, Sealy Lake, Phillipsburg, Superior, and Alberton. But
Okay.
then you mentioned Mission and Clinton.
Well, Clinton, no, the Mission has a high school girls team,
Okay.
and I just picked their brain a little bit to see how much they liked it. So,
Do you know who Superior plays most? What games they can do?
it would be these teams that
These
you
teams,
just
right.
mentioned, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what their schedule looks like or anything like that.
Yeah, I was just looking at it in relation to travel for distance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, on some of those, I don't know if it's say Sealy, you might be able to meet Bonner or something. There's something like that. We've
Well,
done that.
Phillipsburg is the farthest one there, I think.
There's still some pretty long travel trips in junior high tackle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, it seems to me that if you're not playing tackle football, jamborees would be an
Oh
opportunity.
yeah, they would actually be one.
Where you could meet and play,
Yeah.
have several competitions on a Saturday and maybe decrease the amount of times that you actually do travel.
Well, and last year JV went that route as well, and we went to Arlee and we played, who we played Arlee, Darby was there, and I don't remember who else, but even in the summertime, when we go to Superior, Darby's there, St. Regis is there, Sealy's there, Mission's there, and you're playing a half a field in those instances, which would be similar to a jamboree, but the kids still get into it. And so, yeah, you could have a jamboree and have 3 or 4 teams easily.
And I'm sure all
Good
schools
idea.
would be like to reduce their transportation costs, so
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it would be
Yeah,
probably looked at
yeah.
positively by all those schools.
And I guess the summer thing came to mind too, because 3 years ago at the junior high level, I was talking to the St. Regis junior high coach, and he wanted to get just a junior high league going. And then I jumped into the high school stuff, so I didn't pursue that. But I know there was interest, in developing something leading into the season. So,
Mike?
yeah.
My son-in-law and my daughter-in-law, they run the huge league down in Boise, which is just like literally hundreds of teams in flag football, and they added what they call a super senior league this year, which actually goes in this like mostly 7th, 8th grade, 9th graders. And it's big. I mean, they play football, but the one criticism that comes from like the area coaches, which I know a couple of head coaches down there at high schools, is you know, flag football is a development of the skill position. And you know, what gets left out a little bit in flag football is the development of the, you know, you know, you guys that coach football, is the development of the line techniques and the
Yeah.
linemen, because they don't do as well in flag football. I mean, as far as the actual development and the teaching of it, when they go to high school, it's a different game for them, because there's a lot of things that
Oh,
don't
yeah.
carry over from flag football in their game. I mean, if you know football, you know that there are probably 3 or 4 games going on within the game. And the one area, the skill kids, yeah, they get a lot of good relevant stuff with the, you know, in the passing league. You know, some of those other, you know, the linemen, you know, they've actually tried to make some, you know, some drills, and down there they're experimenting with a league just for the development of line play.
Sure.
Without pads, you know.
You know, and just on that point too, watching film on Superior's high school team the last 2 years, they run a spread type offense, and their skill guys are good. But one thing they coach well, and I would love to go pick their brain on it, they pull a lot of guys and block, and a lot of times they're undersized. Their center 2 years ago was 160 pounds, and you know, he was all conference. And so just once again, they are very successful transitioning to this in the way they use their line. They have a few big kids, but 2 years ago their biggest kid was their quarterback, Jackson Green. The year before he was their center. You know, and so they switched him out because of his athleticism at that size. And so said they just seem to do a really good job. They'll do double teams, and they are not blowing you off the field, but they are occupying you to the point it's really frustrating, and being successful at it. So yeah, they're whatever techniques they're teaching. And you know, Chris Claremont's there. He's with the little kids, and so is Labby. I saw him this last summer. They were out working with him, and I would bet they would come. Hell, for a week ago there, and they would help. And they want things to be successful too. So,
We
Yeah.
played it in Columbia Falls. It was never out, we never went out as a sport, but it got kids in there that you never would think would go out for sport,
sure.
girls and boys.
Yeah.
So it was kinda neat, cause you could get all kinds of kids out there playing,
Yeah.
because it wasn't gonna hurt them, or, I mean, you know, there's some aggression, but,
Yeah.
you know, but it was kinda neat because it got all kinds of,
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Mr. Tatum. So
Yeah.
since you have coached regular football, tackle football, but you did 1 year of flag football, the difference between coaching tackle football to flag football, is that a hard transition? Thinking, since you're not a junior high football coach, right?
Yeah.
Would that be a hard transition for the junior high coaches we have?
Your schematics when you're trying to draw plays, yeah, you're not gonna run the ball as much. It is gonna be more skill position, more passing, you know. Now granted, you can flare a running back out, you know, you can do different things there, but as for straight up running the ball, you're not gonna have that as much. So I'm just gonna keep using Superior as an example, but they've done well. They had a sophomore kid this last year that ran all over us, you know, so. You know, you get to teach those kids the technique and the places they need to be and when they need to be there, you know, and then transition them into that in high school. They'll at least know where to be, you know, you're not worried about that. So there would be a learning curve, but I don't think it'd be too bad.
I was just sort of thinking, so a couple years ago, we struggled to get a football coach, right, for junior high, so Mr. Nolan did step up. But I don't know if this would draw more people to be willing to coach or less.
Yeah, I don't know, you know, I will help with whatever and get a hold of whomever that I think would help, and, you know, if anybody else too. obviously. But, I still have I was looking through stuff the other day, I still have my notes from flag football. Anything else? Okay.
I move that we table this then so we can continue gathering information.
Okay. Yeah, and if you guys need anything else, ask away, email me,
Yes.
I'll reach out, whatever you need,
Thanks, Mike.
okay?
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Mind if I go to Hunter's Ed now?
Going from throwing footballs to shooting guns. Sounds
Yeah.
Montana-ish.
Okay, we'll move on to, new business. Yeah. We'll move on to new business and personnel, paraprofessional retirement, Teresa Shaw.
I move that we approve Teresa Shaw's retirement.
I'll second.
Questions or concerns? Okay,
Lana,
Yes.
Monica,
Yes.
Ellen? Yes, with regrets, both.
yes. Paraprofessional resignation, Heather Worrell.
I make a motion that we accept Heather Worrell's resignation.
Regrets, I'll second that.
Questions?
I guess I would like to say she's done a wonderful job for the district, and her assistance with my own son has been instrumental in who he became.
Nice, that's great.
Monica,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Ellen? Yes, and I'll second the regrets, both.
Yes. Business manager resignation, Kelly Pfister.
I move that we approve Kelly Pfister's resignation as business manager.
Questions? Okay,
Lana,
Regretfully, yes.
Monica,
Yes.
Ellen? More regrets, yes, both.
yes. Formation of negotiation committees for certified and classified.
I make a motion that
How do we,
Yeah, we just have to,
don't you just set those as the chair?
yeah, we just need to have two volunteers that will step up and take, do each one of those. Obviously Steve's not here, so.
I'll do negotiations committee.
Do you need the same two people or two for?
Yeah, it's typically the same two people for both.
Okay. That would be for certified and classified.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Huh?
Do we motion that to,
I think you just assign them.
okay, we'll appoint Lana and Monica for certified and classified negotiations. Okay, that will, adjourn the meeting 5:55.
What's needed?
Will you
Yeah.
guys just tell us when it's happening?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. Well, what we'll do now is you'll together get together and